Kids and cadets, welcome back to Tommy Time 2004 All Pro generator. This was a $30 Mayaca City deal. Last video went through the tank, cleaned that up, that's ready to go. So what we're going to do first is I noticed this tubing got bent in. You can see a strike mark here. The tank came off a little wonky. I had to turn it sideways to get it past the bar since it's been pushed in. I'm just going to take my Harbor Crap floor jack. I got it sideways. We're going to push this tubing straight. So I'll show you what we're going to do. Unconventional body work. Kansas Jack Magna Rack, which was an actual thing back in the 80s to straighten car frames. Now they do it with all kinds of laser guided machines. So I'm just going to use the strength of the hydraulic jack here, if I can keep this 4x4 in place, just to push this out. Okay, we're making contact and we're pushing it. Okay, that's working beautifully. Okay, that's about all I want to do. It looks straight. Relieve the pressure. And remove this. Okay, yeah, that looks like it's going to work. Okay. That was a lot better than what it was. I think I can get the tank in there quite easily now. It'll also give you a better view. I'm going to leave the tank off while I remove the carb. Carb still has to be cleaned. Where can I set you up? Maybe I'll move you around to start. The first screws that I'm going to remove are 8mm screws, and it's all this plastic baffling. So I'm not prepared for you as usual. I've got my 8, but I'm going to grab my DeWalt 1/4-inch impact, and we're going to make chop suey out of this project. Haste but not waste. I just got to put my hand on it. I do have it, my 18-volt DeWalt. About 50 degrees overnight. It's cloudy now. Maybe it'll warm up to 70 today. I got my sweatshirt on until it warms up. Looks like 6 of these. Sorry, I'm eating some Mike and Ike's tropical blend. Okay, 8's here. This will pop off, which will give us access to the 10s on the carburetor. There's a hose you have to remove here to get access to one of the 10s. So I'm going to switch out my socket for a 10. This has a fuel shut-off solenoid attached to the bottom of the bowl, so that's going to need to be removed. Okay, we have another 10 behind the unit, which you can't see, but there's a bracket down here holding the bottom of this plate. It's just a 10 millimeter nut that's going to come off. Right there, that's a 10. That's just going to come off. There's your fuel shut-off solenoid. We'll have to undo the electrics to that. I think the plug for it's on the other side of the engine, so we got to follow this wiring. I'm starting to lose my fingernail after my dead center hammer blow a few months ago, so that ought to be interesting. So follow your connector. Where is it? Okay, it's these two right here. They just pull apart. They're both green and white stripes, so I guess it doesn't matter. And both of these are orange. So I'm going to separate these. Right there. I might have to put you back up to do that. Looks like we got a tear in this paper gasket. Which doesn't really amount to anything because it's on the back of this backing plate. Okay. All right, so we're off on the solenoid. So let's keep moving. There's a bracket here. There's one little linkage that goes to the choke. I just lifted up on this whole mechanism. The straight down linkage goes right here on the choke, and it's that little doodad goes straight down into here. So I see we're breaking the gasket back there. That's more important. I'm going to get a little screwdriver and undo the sticky gasket, and then we can turn this linkage to the side and just lift up on it. Lift straight up on it now and remove the spring, and this whole thing will come off. Let me try to salvage that intake gasket. Okay, I just did. I'm going to turn this throttle full open, lift up on the linkage, remove the spring, let that dangle. Voila, as they say. Just a little bit of shitty gas came out of here. You remember it looked like root beer. Little trick on these Phillips heads on these carburetors. I've dealt with 50-year-old Honda motorcycles. With Phillips, you want to break the tension on this with vice grips or channel locks. You go to put a driver on this, and you're going to end up stripping it if it's tight, and then you're going to cry because you ruined your screw. So break the tension first with vice grips. Or a pair of channel locks. Okay, just broke that one. Let's move over to this one. Look at all the varnish here. It stinks. Okay, broke that one. You're not going to do any damage to the side of the screw, but you'll end up stripping these more often than not. So they're all loose now. I can go ahead and use my Phillips. Look at the drain here is all goobered up with molasses. Let me get a small Phillips, remove this. I think we're going to have our work cut out for us. Yeah, it's molasses. And then we got a nut here to take the rest of the bowl off. I can guarantee the plunger and the solenoid's going to be all gooped up with syrup. Syrupy varnish. This unit fired off with happy juice, and it did produce juice. I've got my drop light out here again to check it when it's running, and I was right. This thing's all goobered up. This may take an ultrasonic bath if I can't quickly clean it up with carb spray and compressed air. I'm going to remove that. Looks like a 12 millimeter to remove the bowl. Let me grab an open end 12. It's actually what is it, a 13? Might be a 13. I'm still working on it. No, it looks like a 14. Put a socket on this. I use my jeans as a workbench and broke it free. Totally goobered up. Okay, it's starting to pour bad gas all over the place. Let me get a drip container. which I should have had ready, but we got brown juice pouring out of the bowl. Okay, this is all plugged up. We tap the bowl. The float needle's stuck. I don't see any movement in that. It's all gummed up. Not as bad as I thought. I think we can do it manually. Start poking around this thing and clean it up. So let me start. Get a wire brush. Get my compressed air nearby. There's a washer there. I don't want to run the brush across that and destroy it. Let me get carb cleaner and start spraying this thing. What are you guys working on for projects? I got a couple going on at one time. At least it's not sweltering hot out here. I can do a few things, not run out of energy in 3 hours. Okay, we got the spray. Put a little bit in there. Take my brush. Oh yeah, this will clean up, I think. No ultrasonic needed. We can just keep plowing ahead. Clean up the walls. Sales are totally dead. Haven't sold anything. When it's 50 overnight, 70 during the day, the grass is not growing. Okay, that cleaned up. I'm going to leave that like it is. Okay, put that aside. Let's move on to this. I can see it's all goobered up here. I'm going to get a small wire. I'll probably grab my torch bit cleaners. And try those. Just do a little diggy first. Yeah, we broke it through, so I'm gonna finish cleaning this out and then side to side here. This is all plugged up. That's plugged. That's plugged right there. That's plugged there on that one. But I just moved it through. Now we can see daylight. Let me wet it down with carb cleaner first, and then grab the wire brush and get the majority of the scale off. There we go. Now we can see what we're doing. We need to break those free. So this was really gummed up with old fuel, turned into this varnishy mess. Okay, now we're cooking. We can see what we got to do. Do some more pokey. Get it wet again with carb cleaner. Start my poking routine. Yeah, a few of these were really hard to break free. This one here is really hard. I may have to get a metal pick. One of the three here is really goobered up. Maybe I can get it from the inside, break some of the snot from the inside first. So this is more or less to show you guys how to remove one of these things. There's no rush for me to get this thing done. Hurricane season's over. I've seen these units advertised for a couple $100 in this condition or newer. They're not a item that's in demand right now. So this is just going to take some physical labor to get this thing cleaned up. Let me do some more diggy here. So tank's ready to go. Cleaned out the petcock that was all gummy like this is. I'm going to try to keep plowing ahead, spend some time on this, make sure this is clean. I think the rest of the body of the carb will be okay. I'll force some carb clean through the passages and blast it out. I think most of the gumminess stayed here at the bottom of the bowl. So I'll spend more time on this, making sure we're free. I'm going to get a stiffer brush. Try not to take my fingernail off prematurely. Okay, I like the way that looks. Now it's time for the solenoid, I think. Clean up the solenoid. One more spray down the center. Do some diggy diggy. Okay, blast this off with air. Put this aside. So let's work on the solenoid. It's all gooped up. It's stationary. It's not moving. So let's try cleaning it up first, and then grab some channel locks and try to pull it out and spray some carb clean down there on the side of it. Looks like there's a rubber washer here. Yeah, I don't want to mess with that. Actually, will it let me take it off? Yeah, I just took it off, so I'm going to put that aside so I don't mess it up. Some carb spray. Brush this surface clean. One more spray, and then I'll grab channel locks and try to pull on this. Vice Grip brand channel locks. Okay, that's stiff. So we may have an issue with this. Okay, I just broke it free there. It was really stiff, and putting pressure on it, I just pulled it out. So let's try to get this free and clear. Worst comes to worst, I take some snips and snip this thing off and put it back in. What this does is prevent dieseling. Once you turn the machine off, the plunger goes up into the carb and stops any fuel right away, so it doesn't diesel. I salvaged one of my customers' generators last hurricane by cutting the plunger off. It was the day after he didn't have power, and his plunger on his big generator was not functioning. Cleaned it up, it would not activate, so I just went ahead and snipped it off. Put it all back together. The unit started. He was happy. He was able to salvage his freezer and refrigerator, 2 different units. You could put an inline fuel shutoff. Okay, we got spring action on it, so I think we're good on this. I'm going to spray one more blast down in there. So that turned out good. So it's going to sit in here like that. Usually you see these on units that have a 12-volt external battery, but I don't see any battery set up on this thing. Okay, that's moving free and clear. I just see a little spot here I missed. So it's just a matter of taking each component, cleaning it up one by one. That plunger is going to sit in here, so I want to make sure the walls of this are nice and smooth. Okay, put my little washer back on the plunger so we don't have any gas leaks. Okay, that's nice and springy and dingy. I'm extremely happy so far. Now let's work on the, oh, we got a black cat. Let's work on this float assembly. Remove the pin. The needle stuck in the seat. So what I'm going to do is spray a little carb clean into the intake nipple. Spray some around the base. We can take off the jet. I just sprayed some carb clean down there and it's not moving through, so that means the jet's plugged up. What we can do is take my small wire and stick it in the middle of the jet. Try to break whatever's in there free. And I just did. Whatever was goobered up in there, I just forced it through. So let me try removing the jet, and then we'll deal with the needle here in a minute. Let that carb clean soak. So the issue with this is it may strip the brass jet if it's so goobered up. I'm going to get a better screwdriver. If it feels like I'm going to be stripping the brass, I'll just try to clean it in place, but it's best to remove it to get all the little holes in the emulsion tube clean, because it may not run smooth. I got to get the right size flathead to get in there, which I'm looking for right now. Okay, that Harbor Freight screwdriver's working. Did I break it free or am I stripping it? Spray some carb clean in to lubricate it. Keep crossing my fingers. I think we got success. Okay, that just popped out. Go to the throat of the carb, push down on the emulsion tube. That's very stiff, so that's goobered up too. It's going to take some motivation. I'm going to spray some carb clean in this. Let that soften up. I'll clean out the jet now that I have it off. run a wire through it. Okay, that's clean. Put that aside. I'm going to spray some Carb Clean from the top down. Let me put a screwdriver in and try pushing it down again. Yeah. Nope. Nothing. Maybe it'll soften up. Let's try getting this float needle out. I'm going to grab a pair of needle nose and just twist this. Give it a twist, break the snot. I just did. It's free and clear. Pull it out. Yeah, look at that. It's all goobered up. We got to clean that up. We got to clean up in there. The walls are full of snot. So let's do that, and hopefully our emulsion tube here softens up and I can remove that. So this is just a grunt work labor thing where you got to keep cleaning everything. Take some spray. Use a pick, kind of clean the walls up a little bit. Really clean up in here. It's just where the fuel was sitting for a long time. I'm going to try a larger screwdriver to get the emulsion tube out. More leverage from the top. Give it another squirt so it'll soak a little more. Doing it off camera, using my leg as a a vise, and I think I just got it. I've got a hooked pick. I was able to push it down part of the way. I'm going to try to use a pick and force it down some more through the top. There we go. Yeah, so it's a good thing we took it out. All these little holes on the emulsion tube here are plugged up, so it wouldn't have ran well if I had not removed this. So let me get a bread wrapper and start pokey here. Sorry it's taken so long, but you got to do what you got to do. But we're almost guaranteed this thing will run as long as it doesn't leak any fuel. If the gaskets aren't screwed up, we'll be in good shape. Just looking for a bread wrapper. I might have to go with the torch bit cleaner, the smallest one. I think I'm out of bread wrappers out here. So let me take a brush and get some of the surface snot off, that green snot right there. I could also use one of these stray strands on my brush to do some pokey. We'll take the larger brush here and just pull a strand to the side. This is totally shade tree backyard nonsense, but it works. You got to do what you got to do. I got to eat more bread or bagels. And those look clear. This one here looks like it's jammed up. Okay, got that one. I think I got them all. I'm going to squirt some carb clean through here, make sure they're all good to go. I can see through them all. Let's see if you're still with me. Yep, long video. You're still with me. Glad the battery didn't crap out. So let's, now that that's clean, let's work on the needle here. It's spring loaded. I'll remove it from the float so I can clean it up. Very, very crusty. So I'm going to take some carb spray, spray it down. Get it wet and brush it gently. We want this to be able to slide up and down the channel free and clear and not get stuck. Just drop the spring in the bowl. Use my fingernail for the fine cleaning. Maybe a little bit of corrosion here at the top of the needle. As long as it moves up and down without binding on the side of the channel. Okay, let's put this back together. Before we do, let me spray the bowl down a little bit. Get it wet. Use my wire brush. Get any of this flaky varnish off. Okay, that seemed to help. Okay, we'll put this back in. I like these springs on here. They keep it in place. This is still nice and clean. So let's put this in and check freedom of movement. Put my pin in place. Let me blow some air through here. Okay, that appears to be functioning. I'm going to push the emulsion tube back in. Put the jet back in on top of it. Start screwing it down. Okay, that's tight. I can see the emulsion tube is where it should be. Okay, now we can put the bowl back in place. Just kind of eyeball where the drain should be. Probably on this side of the unit. Okay, so that looks good. Now what? Put our solenoid back in place, and I think it goes something like this because the line is on this side, so it goes like that. This goes on first. The bowl nut, it's going on a little tight just because I probably didn't get it all of the gumminess off. Okay, here's my 14 socket. Tighten this down. Hopefully it doesn't leak. Don't over torque it. Okay, grab my solenoid. It's going to go on like that. Put a little force on it. Now grab my 2 Phillips. So bad gas is the culprit again, making everything all gummy and plugged up. I'll just get this one snug, come over here and get this snug, and then we'll go back and forth. You don't clamp down one tight all the way, because then this side's going to be jacked up higher. So snuggy, snuggy, little more, little more, little more. Okay, so that's on. What else do we got to put on? I don't see any extra parts on the ground, so we can go ahead and slide it on the 2 studs. No, we probably should have cleaned out some of these passages, but we didn't. That's what I was going to do, and I didn't do it. But I think most of the buildup was down below and not up here. We're going to find out. Okay. I think I had a blockage up here, but it appears to be moving through. So it's a good thing I did that. This is turning into an hour escapade, huh? Try to go fast. It's going to take a week to download. Linkage goes on. Spring. Now this choke plate goes on. Make sure the straight down linkage goes into the hole in the carburetor choke mechanism. Fish my breather tube through.